Hey everybody, welcome back to the warbossfitz channel. I am back today from Gen Con. Yes, I went to Gen Con with the OPR crew again to go be a booth babe. Good old pretty me out there slinging plastic. So, this is my first time at Gen Con in a long while. So, I did not expect this. I didn't know how big it was, to tell you the truth. I'm not sure what the official numbers were, but it was a freak-a-packed. Even where we were in the OPR booth, all the way down in the corridor underground entrance to the Lucas Oil Stadium, thousands of people going by, and we had a very successful convention. It was the first convention that I had been to where we could sell the Broken Truth plastics, and we sold a ton of them. And it was so much fun, selling out to those, telling people what OPR was. I think about 80% of the people that we sold the Broken Truth box to had no idea what OPR even was. I'm just really good at my sales pitch. I really get excited when I talk about it, and in turn get them all excited when I'm talking about it. And as the weekend goes on, I become more and more unhinged. So let me go through some of the things that I did there. I didn't do much because I was mostly going to be focusing on the OPR booth. But let me tell you how it went. So I left Flint, Michigan at about 8 a.m. Figure I'd get there at 11:30, thinking there was a time change. By the way, I was wrong. There is not a time change. So I ended up showing up about 12:30 and going and help setting up the booth, finding the hotel that we were in, hanging out with guys and figuring stuff out. And yeah, so that was good. Wednesday was good. Then Thursday was technically my day off because we had too many people scheduled to work the booth. There were going to be 4 of us there, and we could not physically fit 4 people inside of our tiny little booth. So I had a day off Thursday, and I had not planned on doing anything until they told me about, how to get tickets and how to set up for stuff. So I found there were a couple of speed painting competitions, and then there was a HeroScape take and paint. Now, I've never looked at HeroScape before, never really been on my radar, so I figured, let me do that. I will do that and paint one of the minis, and then for the speed painting competitions, I was locked in for that, just because you guys know me in painting. So on Thursday, I got into the convention hall at about 9 a.m., which is before the vendors would start opening stuff up. I went down, checked out the booth, talked to one of the guys who was already there kind of setting stuff up, because our booth was about a half a mile from the door that we walked in. It feels like you walked forever to get there. But I went down there to them, checked that stuff out, made sure everything was okay, and then on my way back, I happened to be walking past the vendor hall doors as they were opening. So I figured, why not? I just walked in with everybody else. So in all of those running of the nerd videos, if you look close enough, I am there kind of towards the back of the pack, just kind of wandering in. I didn't have any big backpacks or anything, or I wasn't wearing a costume, so it might be hard to spot me, but I'm there. So I got some time before my first speed painting competition. I'm going to go walk the vendor hall, just see what they have. And let me tell you, I don't think Gen Con is focused towards people like me. This is just the way I see it, because I don't care about board games. I don't care about card games. Whenever we do RPG stuff, we write our own stuff, or we don't use any supplements, and we don't make anything up for it. So walking around, looking at all the different vendors selling the card games and all the stuff I didn't care about, plus the 82 vendors who were selling custom dice. Really? 82 of you? Somebody else counted, and they told me 82, and I was, after seeing that, I believe it. As I was walking around, I found a very few miniature companies that were there. Now, I'm sure they were there. They were buried and spread out everywhere. But what I did find is when I wandered over to the gaming section, I found some guys setting up a Space Hulk game. I did not see the Space Hulk part first. The first thing I saw was this giant Imperial spaceship. The 40K Imperial spaceship, just out in the middle of the floor. And of course, I pulled the phone out and started recording. I'm like, what is this? As I go through, I'm looking through the engine bays and stuff, and as I get around the corner, I realize what's going on. They're setting up Space Hulk on the other side. And things clicked in my head. I was like, that's awesome. That is awesome. So I talked to the guy, and they said that they had already sold out on the tickets to play, but they were going to be doing custom unticketed missions after 7 o'clock at night, and to swing by there in case I, wanted to join in. And I was all for it. Well, let me tell you, walking around Gen Con for 10 hours to wait until that game started, I did not make it back. Sorry. It would have been great. I would have caught some stuff on camera, but alas. So after all that cool stuff, it was about 11 o'clock. My speed painting competition was supposed to start at noon. I'm like, all right, let me go figure out where the heck I am supposed to be. And let me tell you another thing: if you've never been to Gen Con, even if you have been to Gen Con, figuring out where to go for things is hard. I probably walked another 3 miles inside the convention center trying to figure out where I was supposed to go. Because they have the little "You are here" signs on the wall, but it shows you a pin, but it does not tell you the directions things are supposed to be. And things are named on a theme. They're not named what they normally are. So I was looking for like Hall F, and it ends up being called like the Scouring Grounds or something. I'm like, okay. So it took me about a solid hour to figure out where I was supposed to be, which happened to be right above where I walked in the convention hall. It was literally 50 yards from the first place I stepped in. So, yay. All in all, I found it. So I sat down for my first speed painting competition. This was one that was put on by Iron Wind Metals. They're all ran by the same people, but the different companies sponsored different hour slots. This one happened to be the Iron Winds Metal one. I'm thinking, cool. The only thing I knew that Iron Wind Metals did was old Battletech stuff. I'm thinking, cool, I'm going to paint a mech. It's going to be great. I was wrong. They pulled out some tiny, small-scale wizard for us to paint. Well, everyone else thought it was a wizard. I looked at it and thought it was some kind of like royalty thing. So they have the paints there. They probably had 8 or 10 different colors and a couple paintbrushes. So I tucked in there and just got to it. And 45 minutes of painting later, I was done, and this is what I came up with. I went for a desert royalty wizard princess scheme, and it's about at that point, after looking at everybody else's entries, that I realized, okay, speed painting competition was not the speed painting competition I thought it was going to be. These were people that, like, one person said, oh, this is the second model I painted in a year, and the first one I painted was the last speed painting competition I was at last year. So, yeah, I won the first speed painting competition. Very handily won the first speed painting competition. I'm not bragging about it. It was just literally people that were there painting were just random hobbyists. There was no, I thought it was going to be kind of a professional thing. Like other people there painting were kind of professional painters, but nope. So I won, and my prize was this anti-paladin mounted and on foot. Now, there was a couple of different options they had for you, and I just saw this. I saw anti-paladin. I'm like, that sounds cool. I'll paint that up for something. So then I go back to the vendor hall because I got about another hour before the HeroClix painting. So that's when I run into my first mini vendor. Well, actually, they run into me. And it was a company called Top Games. It's a company out of China. Kind of red flag number one. But I talked to the guy there, and he's like, yeah, we're out of China, but we have a few different models. Or the ones that made the Yellow King, or the King in Yellow, which I can't find that particular one when I look on Google. I can't find, you know how hard it is to find something called Top Games when you try to Google it? You get like 15,000 lists of the top games of X, but whatever. So they have this game, I guess, called God Wound. Well, the models are weird. And normally where I 3D print everything myself, I am on the lookout for weird stuff. The only reason why I would buy a physical mini if it is something weird, or if I like the company or I like the person. So this one, they had a deal going on where you could get the Gilded Husk, the Bombard of Gathanathonia. I'm never going to say that right. And this thing looks pretty sick. Pretty cool. I took it out of the box. Went through the sprues. It is injected plastic. Well, we'll skip ahead for just a second. I got back to the hotel room that night and showed Param, the marketing guy from OPR, who was in the hotel room with me. I showed him the box, said, hey, look at this. It's kind of cool. It's kind of weird. He looked at it and immediately went, oh, yeah, that's AI. Okay. I was like, well, how could you tell? And then he went through and he showed me why everything on the box looks like it's AI. And, he says that, listen, I get 11 sculptors a week trying to get into OPR, and 10 of them are AI sculptors. So he's just gotten good at spotting them. But even with that said, this model looks interesting. I mean, it was only $35 is what I paid for it there. And, it's something different, something weird. It'll be fun for a painting stream one day. So after I did that, I went down to the HeroClix area. And for some reason, they showed I didn't have a ticket when I got there, but then I had to show the guy that, yes, I did buy a ticket. It was on my phone. That, look, I'm here. So I got to sit down. I was maybe 5 minutes late because it took a minute to find the place. So when I got in, I had an option of 3 different models, and I really didn't like any of the model selections. I don't know if I just don't like HeroClix models. They're made out of weird stuff. They're all proportioned weird. I don't know. I'm not really a fan of the models, but I found this guy. He was the coolest looking one. So I sat down and started painting him. And, had nice little conversations or listening to conversations going on around me. So I just kind of putzed around, painted this guy up. And he's a little bit worse for wear because he was just kind of thrown in a box to come home. He was thrown in, I think, the God Wound box to come home. So, meh. HeroClix, it's not going to be something that I jump into just because none of the models I saw I really like that much. So after that, I had another speed painting competition where I went back to the same place, and this time it was being put on by Metal Minds or Metalhead Games. I think it's Metalhead Games. And they sat down and they gave me a Chibi Night Lords. Okay, interesting. Chibi Night Lords. I started painting it up like a Night Lord. I wasn't taking it nearly as seriously as the first one because I realized what kind of a painting competition it was. And this one, I legitimately lost this painting competition. I think because I knew what it was supposed to be. And I started painting it Night Lord's colors. It kind of fell off because some of the other people came up with some really cool color combinations. I legit lost it. Good for them. It was still fun. It still was nice to be sitting there and painting for 45 minutes. And a weird thing is you see the oddest people at Gen Con for like half a second. The guy who used to run the 40K of the game store here in my local town that closed about 10 years ago just happened to walk by and he yelled out, "Dan?" ? I looked at him and I was like, "Troll?" ? Yeah. As he was just walking in a crowd of people, we just kind of went, "Hey," and then never saw him again. Just disappeared into the crowd. Is what it is. So then afterwards, I went back to the vendor hall for a little bit. At this point, it was like 4 o'clock. And I found a little tiny booth that was being run by, I think it was Archon Studios. They had a larger area over in the other side of the hall. But this one, it was a girl sitting in a little booth. And I just walked in and checked out what they had. They had some terrain stuff that I caught my eye and ended up not buying. But while I was there, I talked with her. They had some good deals on stuff. So I picked up a few things. The first thing I picked up was the Rampant Mammoth Walker. Now, this one has been shown off. I think Midwinter Minis did one of these, and Morty and Glory, I think, showed off this on one of his videos. So I saw this, and she had it for like $20. I'll give it a shot. $20 looks cool. So at that point, I decided I needed to go find some food. Found a Steak and Shake that was right next door to the convention hall. Ate way too much. And went back to the hotel room, passed out. So, fast forward, day number 2. Day number 2, I get there, again, a little early, start setting up the booth, start talking to people before I'm even, I don't even have the POS thing to start selling stuff. And just talking to people, getting all enthusiastic about OPR. So finally, we opened the booth, officially started selling some stuff. I had a little break, went back to the vendor hall. I went back to that same little Archon Studio spot, and I picked up some more stuff. Because, again, like I said, I'm always looking for weird things, and these were both $20. So you couldn't pass that up. I think overall on models, I spent $95 on models. So I think I did pretty good. Because, again, it looks pretty cool. I'm going to use that for something, or I'm just going to paint it up, and it's going to be sitting somewhere. They look awesome. They'll be part of an OPR army. I just don't know which one. So then after that, went back to the vendor booth, sold a whole lot more stuff, and then closed her down. Went out to dinner that night. One of the other guys, Chris, that came with us, bought a board game called Market Fresh, and we decided to play that. Somehow, I won the game. I was just kind of doing random stuff in the game because, again, I don't really care about board games, but my special brand of random seemed to see me through. And Param was, well, hey, if this miniature thing don't work out, apparently you're going to be real good as a greengrocer. So there's that. So Saturday was a very eventful day. If you guys had been paying attention to any of the news coming out of Gen Con, the day started pretty good. This is the day that we had to like take rolling shifts of people at the booth just because we couldn't all fit in there. So Saturday was busy. People walked by. We were selling a whole bunch of stuff, and then so I had a break at like 5 o'clock. So at that point, I figured it's a break that's going to last until we close, so I can just go off and do whatever. My day's pretty much over. I looked at the Google app for food near me, and I saw a place that was like Mondo's cheesesteaks. And of course, if you know me, or if you're a fellow fat kid, cheesesteaks, woo, alarm bells are going off. I'm going to go get myself a cheesesteak. So we were down in the tunnels. That's where our booth was. We had no idea it was raining outside. I walk up to the front of the convention center, pouring ass rain, just pouring sideways rain. I'm going, okay. Well, I'm a Florida boy. I can walk through the rain. It's fine. I'm looking for a cheesesteak. So take off through the streets of Indianapolis. It's about 4 or 5 blocks away. I get about halfway there. I'm standing underneath an overpass, and there's a guy with a group of girls next to me. And we're just like, rain, crazy, huh? And then all of a sudden, boop, our alarms for the phones go off. So I pull mine out. It says tornado warning. I looked at the sky, looked at my phone, looked at the dude. He's looking at me, and we're both like, we're screwed. Oh, well, cheesesteak. Cheesesteak was the objective. That was more important than trying to find cover for a tornado. So I take off running again, and I get real close to it until the wind and the rain hit me so hard as I come around a corner, I have to stop. At that point, I'm like, okay, this is weird. I'm like, is there a tornado right here as I'm standing here, looking around, waiting to see stuff fly out of a window or just Final Destination, something happened. Wait about 20 minutes, end up going through a back alley, see some homeless dudes doing some stuff. It was dark. One of them didn't have any pants on. We're not going to talk about that anymore. Moving on, and get out in front of where the cheesesteak place was supposed to be. It turns out the cheesesteak place was inside the WNBA stadium, and it was closed. So I just ran through a tornado for nothing. No cheesesteak for me. Oh, I was mad. So I ducked inside the closest hotel. Rain stops eventually, walk home, or walk back to the hotel. Cool. I don't hear anything from anybody for about 2 hours. After the tornado warning and just scrolling through Reddit and Facebook Reels and stuff, I see the aftermath of stuff that had happened inside the convention hall. And it was pretty bad. The streets where I were was about 8, 9, 10 inches of just rain or just water rushing down the road, and the manhole cover is just bouncing. And being somebody who understands what that means, I'm like, that is a whole lot of pressure being shoved down into the sewer system all at once. Ooh, that's bad. So I start calling people, being like, hey, what's going on? Did the tunnel flood? Did stuff wash away? And as I'm freaking out about stuff, trying to get a hold of people, Perrin walks in the door, and he was like, oh yeah, things are fine. Nothing happened to us at all. We had the tornado warning. We were already inside the tunnel underground. It's just hang out until it ended. And he was like, yeah, we sold more stuff because people were stuck inside. We were talking with them. Hey, happy for us. But there were some vendors that ended up getting their stuff trashed as rainwater came through the roof. I don't know what happened up there because, of course, it's a convention. So, of course, the entire city decides it's going to be under construction the whole time we're there. Maybe they were doing some roof repair and they forgot to put something over top of something, but it was like a seam right down the middle of the convention center that just started pouring. And then from there, it moved into other areas. So, I don't know. Someone might be getting fired over that one. But Gen Con does offer insurance, so I hope that whoever's got their stuff trashed had insurance. Hopefully everything works out. Nobody died, nobody got hurt, so it just is what it is. The block party outside was pretty trashed, but again, kind of is what it is. Finally go to bed about 1 o'clock in the morning and then wake up for the last day. I went to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning. My body woke me up at 5:30. I was excited. Let's get this done. Let's get this over with. Let's go home. At this point, I'm up at 5:30. I pack everything up, go put it in a van that had been in a parking garage the whole time, which, I paid $180 for parking. Next year, one of you guys that were there who live from Indianapolis, I'm staying with you because that was ridiculous. Put everything in the van, head down. I got there so early. I had the booth open by 8:30. And just random people I was talking to, I was getting them all excited. They're like, what can I buy? I'm like, nothing. I don't have the thing with me to buy stuff. So I come back and hour and a half. Which, the funny thing is, most of them did. And on the last day of the convention, I am absolutely unhinged. I'm talking with everybody. I could feel the point where like my vocal cords hit that spot where I'm like, oh, I'm going to have a sore throat for a week. But it was great. It was great talking with people. I think I had the same kid come by the booth 4 times, and I played 4 demo games with him, and he kicked my butt every time. Those darn Saurians that hit on a 3 that take out my robots and save on a 5. Dang. It's for the kids. Let them have fun. And yeah, after that, we got everything packed up. Mini Market was there, who was the person, or who were the people that like have our product for distributing. So they brought a pallet for us, the stuff that we didn't sell, which was not all that much. We put back on a roll cart, and we took it to them. So they had that all boxed up to go. And then took the booth down, took everything back to the hotel, waved bye to everybody, and then I was back on the road for another 5.5 hours. Be at home. Just to wake up this morning and go back to work. Having fun, slinging plastic, talking with people, joking around to go back to what I do for a living. But yes, that was my Gen Con experience. Got to see behind the scenes, got to learn a little bit of stuff. I can't believe so much stuff for OPR came out when I was on the road to Gen Con to where I couldn't even do a video about it. I was going to pull the van over and be like, okay, we're talking about the Jade and Claw, and we're going to be talking about the Void Stalkers. But no, I'll make something separate about that. Well, I don't even know if I need to now. Everybody else has covered it. So if you watch me, you watch them, so you've already seen it all by now. At least that's what I'm going to sell myself. If you do want me to go over that, put it down in the comments below. Yeah. So the next convention for OPR is going to be Adepticon next year. We're already getting stuff set up for that. It's going to be bigger and better than it was this year. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I think I've talked enough into a camera for one night. I hope you guys are having fun playing OPR wherever you are. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.